Dear students, you are once again welcome to the second session of Unit 1. In this session, we are going to have a look at the meaning of counseling from the point of view of the layman and the psychologist. Session objectives. By the end of this session, students should be able to 1. Define counseling. 2. Describe some key issues in counseling. 3. Explain 6 aims of counseling. And then 4. Identify some misconceptions of counseling. Now, to the meaning of counseling. To the layman's point of view, to give some pieces of advice, to hold consultation with someone or discussions with someone else, to exchange of ideas or decision is simply termed as counseling. But in actual fact, counseling goes beyond this, just because the service is designed to help an individual to analyze himself by relating his capabilities, achievements, interests, and mode of adjustment to the decision yet to be made or has already been made. In line of this, 2 definitions have been considered here. The first one is coming from Denga 1986. And for him, counseling is a personalized dialogue, interview, or interaction between a client or a counselee experiencing a problem and a counselor who tries to render help. The second one is coming from 2 personalities who are psychologists, and they are Taylor and Bucco, 2006. And for them, counseling is defined as a relationship bringing together the counselee who needs help and the counselor who is professionally trained and educated to give this help. Now, studying these 2 definitions critically, you will notice a common theme between them, and this is the act of bringing 2 people together. And these 2 people are the client and the counselor. The client here is someone who is said to be an inexperienced and has a concern to have a solution to it. And the counselor, who is an experienced person and has professionally trained, is also ready to render that kind of assistance to the clients. It goes on to say that counseling, therefore, denotes the fact that there is a client who is disturbed, so much confused, and need assistance to clear away certain difficulties. And there's also a counselor who is educated to assist in that direction. Again, it is a relationship or a form of dialogue between the client who needs help and the counselor who is ready to offer assistance. Even though counseling assists people to overcome their problems, it is not exclusively problem-oriented program or session. This means that it can be used to do other things. For example, to assist people to take intelligent decisions or select from a number of alternatives. Aside that, people also call for or counseling can be made available to assist people who need clarifications over certain issues, particularly on personal, educational, and vocational issues. Having said all these, we also have some key issues in counseling as a subtopic. And so the following are some key issues in counseling. 1. Counseling is a professional service offered by a trained counselor. This simply means that it is a service which is not supposed to be offered by any other person other than one who has been trained as a counselor. 2. It is a relationship or interaction between a client in need and a counselor who is ready to offer assistance. This has already been explained, and here is the same as what has earlier on been said. Deals with two people, an experienced one and an inexperienced one. And the inexperienced one with the client is ready to avail himself or herself for counseling from the experienced one who is the counselor. The third is the service concerns itself with choice or decision making. In the process, decisions are supposed to be made and choices are supposed to be made. And of course, at the end of the day, we expect that a meaningful decision is really made on the part of the client. The fourth one says it concerns itself with problem solving. Problem solving here is really indicating that in most cases the client will have a problem and will actually want to see a counselor for a solution of the problem. It is not the counselor who is going to solve the problem for the client, but he is going to be a helper. He's going to render assistance for the client to solve his own problems. The next is the service involves itself with behavior modification or behavior change. Under this circumstance, the expectation is at the end of a session, the client who has actually come in for assistance is expected to have his behavior changed for better. The next is it thrives on confidentiality. This one also indicates that at the end of the day, the counselor holds it as a responsibility to ensure that whatever is discussed during the process remains. It does not go out. No person or no third person hears of it. And this has a lot of advantages on the part of the client, and at appropriate time we shall consider that. So on the subtopic, and the seventh one says that counseling strives on certain conditions. Here actually talks of the fact that the counselor is supposed to have certain conditions, especially in the process of the session. The conditions which can actually be mentioned under this circumstance are genuineness, respect, specific, and empathy. For genuineness, the counselor is expected to be very much honest to himself and to the client. for the client to see that really he is actually dealing with an honest person. Meaning, whatever he says during the process should be very much genuine. The next is respect. Here, the counselor is also expected to render some sort of regard, to have a full respect for the clients without any conditionality. So respect the clients unconditionally. You don't have to say that I am going to respect the client because he comes from the same place with me. Or I wouldn't have much respect for the client just because he is of a different opinion of me. No. Counseling says over here that irrespective of everything, you, the counselor, has it a responsibility, of course, the ethical one, to give regard to the client. Specific. Yes, under this circumstance, the counselor is expected to be specific about the statements that he actually makes. Meaning that in making statements, it should be very much clear. Make statements devoid of ambiguities and make it in such a way that any other person will understand it. And that is specific. Finally, we have empathy. The empathy here is also talking about the fact that you must have some sort of understanding. Your understanding about the client should be such that in the process of the session, you can actually find yourself in his world. So with that sort of empathy understanding we are talking about, you can actually be in the world of that person. As some people say, you try to be in the shoes of the client. So these are some of the conditions a counselor is supposed to have when especially in a session of counseling. The next is counseling service is the heart of the work of guidance. Of course, that is it. It is the core of the work of guidance. And it's very close to the work of guidance than any other service which we can actually think of. Aims of counseling is the next subtopic for consideration. And to start with, let me indicate that counseling in general assists people to change their behaviors and lifestyles, to reduce suffering and to take very much meaningful decisions. As a result of this, Capuzzi and Gross, 1991, have actually outlined a very good number of some aims of counseling, and that is exactly what we are going to consider. The first one indicates that the service really reduces anxiety and depression. Here it indicates that people may become anxious or depressed at any point in time. They may be so much disturbed in life. And in finding a solution to it, it is only counseling that can actually come in to assist people of that sort to overcome these emotions. Two, the service also reduces confusion and loss of contact with reality. At this point, some individuals could easily become confused or frustrated when really confronted with problems. And in taking a decision is always a challenge. It could be any other issue. and to find a solution is always a difficult one. And this can render a whole lot of people in mess. When it happens this way, counseling is really expected to become a means of handling such situations of indecision of people. The next is the counseling service really reduces socialization and improves personal relations. Counseling assists people to know themselves, and knowing yourself under this circumstance is to know your strengths and weaknesses. And the strength here explains things that you can do with ease. The weaknesses are those ones which you cannot. And that is where you have some problems. And so in that case, counseling will assist you to become aware of all that and possibly work very hard on the weaknesses. And the essence of it is to make it possible for you to make the necessary adjustment and relate well with others. The next one, which is 4, also indicates that the service really improves behavior within schools. And of course, we know that a lot of indisciplined acts really go on in our schools over so many issues. So we expect counseling to come in to assist students to improve upon their behavior in schools. Besides, it can also assist them to avoid any indisciplined acts and then rather concentrate on their studies in order to achieve results and, of course, the expected ones. 5, to cope up with crisis and transitional stress. Individuals may become frustrated and disorganized in life as a result of so many things. Some of these could be death, it could be death of a close relative, it could be loss of job, it could be divorce, it could be any other emotional problems. We expect counseling to come in with services to help such people out of such difficulties and make them emotionally stable. Counseling service to become more accepting, to help people to become more accepting of age and the aging process. Now, as we are aging, we are confronted by certain little problems without knowing probably the causes of that. And so counseling comes in to let you be aware again of your strengths and weaknesses, especially as you are growing, so that you will work around the weaknesses and that will put in a better shape to develop the sort of attitude that is wanted to work on the behalf, to work with people and avoid being trouble in future, which is to make choice. This also explains that life is full of decision making. Therefore, counseling is expected at all times to come in to assist people to take careful and well-informed decisions of life that they will get themselves committed to it. This is to prevent people from taking decisions that will create problems for them in future. So in short, it means that you cannot live life without taking decision and without taking a very careful decision that will end with something better. And of course, this we can say that people who take decisions and of course which are not very much meaningful always find themselves in mess. Our next topic is some misconceptions of counseling. It is unfortunate that some people have taken the meaning of counseling at a different levels altogether. And of course, we can actually term them as the laymen in the states. For now, we are going to consider some of these misconceptions, and so as time goes on, we try to stay away from misusing the word. The first we can consider is the fact that counseling is not advice given. Counseling is not advice given. It goes on to say that giving very much effective counseling is not to give advice or prescribe any line of action for the client to follow. No, rather, counseling provides a number of alternatives, and the expectation here is the client is really expected to make choice or his own choice out of the alternatives. So all that the counselor actually does here is he really gives some sort of a helping hand to enable the client to make such choices. The point is counseling is not interviewing clients. Counseling is a form of interaction between the clients and the counselor. In any case, during the process, some few questions could be put on the client to solicit information. But that or those pieces of information are actually used to assist the clients come out of certain difficulties that is being confronted with. This does not mean that interviewing really takes place during counseling session. 3. Counseling is not just to assist people out of difficulties. There are other reasons for counseling services to take place. One of such reasons is that counseling equips people with knowledge and skills that can actually prepare them to face issues in life. That aside, counseling could be organized at any point in time, whether there is a problem or not. So this clearly shows that it is not actually meant to assist people out of difficulties. It's really meant for other reasons, which some of them have already been indicated. The sixth one is counseling is not information given. In actual fact, as we have already indicated, that the process is about interaction between two people, the client and the counselor. But in the process, the client may actually seek one or two pieces of information for clarification's sake from the counselor. And the obtaining of those pieces of information could actually be of help to achieve a desired goal by the client. Even though it is so, it does not necessarily mean that it is a strictly an information given process.
Yeah, so students, we have come to the end of the second session. And as a summary, let me indicate that we have looked at the meaning of counseling, which is an interaction between two people. And these two people are the clients who is having a problem and a counselor who is trained, educated, and ready to offer this assistance. Besides, we have also looked at some key issues in counseling, the aims of counseling, and some misconceptions about counseling. Thank you very much.